Let me start by warning you. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It is a reminder of how fast your reality can turn into something you don't recognize. Because the moment they knocked on my door, my life split in two. Before the knock and after it. And if you're listening to this right now, trust me, you'll want to subscribe so you don't miss what I'll reveal in the next stories. You'll understand why soon. It was 2:47 in the morning, the kind of hour when even the shadows seem asleep. I was finishing a late report in my living room, the screen glowing in the dark. Everything felt still and naturally still. It wasn't just silence, it was emptiness, like the world outside had paused. That's when it happened. Talk. That knock. That soft, polite knock. It cut through the silence like a blade. I froze. Nobody knocked at that hour, and nobody had any reason to. For a second, I thought maybe I imagined it. But then, talk. TOC. My blood ran cold. There was no wind, no footsteps, and no reason for anyone to be outside my door. I stood up slowly, feeling the kind of fear that doesn't make sense yet but your body already knows you're not safe. As I walked toward the door, the air felt thicker, heavier, like something invisible was waiting. When I reached the door, one single detail made my stomach twist. There was no shadow under the door. None. Usually the streetlight would cast a shape of whoever stood outside. But not that night. Still, I whispered. Who's there? Silence. I leaned into the peephole. Nothing. Just the empty street. And that should have comforted me. But somehow, it made everything worse. Because something had knocked. Twice. And whatever it was hiding. I was about to walk away when it happened again. Talk. TOC. This time, the knocks were faster. Impatient. And they came from a distance so close it made something inside me curl up. Primera jumped back. My heart hammered against my ribs like I was being hunted. I yanked my phone out and opened the live feed from my doorbell camera. The empty doorway stared back at me. But at the exact second of the first knock, something flickered in the top corner of the frame. A shape. Tall. Too tall. Unnaturally still. Not quite human in the way it stood. My breath hitched. I scrubbed back through the footage, enlarging the image. The figure stood at the edge of the camera's night vision, facing my door but too far to have knocked. And then, in a single frame, it vanished. Not walked away. Not faded. Gone. Like someone hit a delete key. For a full minute, I stared at the screen. Una bleto moba. A cold realization hit me. Whatever had knocked wasn't showing up on the camera. Something was out there. Something I couldn't see properly. Something that didn't reflect light or shadow the way it should. The lights in the living room flickered. Twice. My heartbeat echoed in my ears, and as if the universe wanted to twist the knife deeper, there was a faint sound at the bottom of the door. A paper being slipped underneath. Slowly. Deliberately. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear breathing. Just the whisper of paper against wood. When I picked it up, my fingers trembled. One sentence, written in a thin, sharp handwriting. Stop looking. A chill shot through my spine so fast I nearly dropped the note. Someone or something knew I was watching. Someone wanted me blind. The knocks. The shadowless doorway. The glitching camera. Nothing made sense. But the fear that felt real enough to drown in. I should have called someone. The police, a friend, anyone. But my body wasn't listening to logic anymore. Everything inside me felt like an animal backed into a cage. I stared at the note again. The meaning twisted in my mind. Was it a threat? A warning? A command? Before I could make sense of it. Boom. Boom. The third knock wasn't a knock. It was an assault. The door shook violently, like someone was hitting it with their entire body. I staggered back, grabbing the wall for balance. My ears rang from the impact. This wasn't human strength. This wasn't a late-night visitor. Something wanted in. Desperately. "Who's there?" I yelled, but immediately regretted raising my voice, because the banging stopped. Instantly. The silence that followed was worse than the knocking. It pressed against my skin. It felt aware. And then, slowly, terrifyingly, the doorknob turned. Not fast. Not forced. Justa gently, deliberate twist. As if the entity on the other side wanted to savor the moment. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't blink, because I knew. I absolutely knew. I hadn't unlocked that door, but the lock clicked. Softly, the door cracked open by itself, and the darkness behind it felt wrong, like a place where no world should exist. Something in my brain screamed at me to run, but my legs refused. A cold drift of air slid inside, brushing my ankles like fingers. For a moment, I thought something was standing right in front of me. I couldn't see it, but my body felt it. Like a presence, a weight, a stare. My phone buzzed, breaking the paralysis. It was a notification from the doorbell camera. Motion detected. I tore my eyes away from the open doorway and looked at the phone. The live feed made my blood go ice. The camera was pointing directly at the open door. Yet instead of showing the inside of my house, it showed me. Standing there, frozen. From behind. That was impossible. Terrifyingly impossible. I wasn't being filmed. I was being watched. And if you're still here listening, you need to hit subscribe. Because what comes next is exactly why I'm still alive to tell this. I slammed the door shut with everything I had. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. The lock clicked, then clicked again, as if something on the other side had tried to unlock it a split second after I did. I stepped back, chest heaving, hands shaking uncontrollably. I wanted to call someone. I tried. But the screen of my phone glitched, static flickering across it like interference. Every instinct told me not to look away from the door. But something on the floor caught my eye. A shape. Flat. White. Placed perfectly in the center of the hallway. A photograph. My stomach twisted as I bent down to pick it up. It was a picture of me. Taken that same night. Same clothes. Same room. Same angle as the doorbell camera. Except my eyes in the photo weren't looking at the door. They were looking at something behind me. Something not visible in the picture, but reflected in the expression on my face. On the back of the photo, there was another message, written in the same sharp handwriting. "We're already inside." My breath stopped. Inside. Inside where? This room. This house. My mind. The air behind me shifted just slightly, like someone had taken a step inside the room. I didn't dare turn around. I couldn't. Because every survival instinct screamed that if I turned, I'd see something I wasn't meant to see. Something that would break me. The lights flickered once more. And then I heard it. The knock from inside the house. Talk. Talk. Slow. Measured. Coming from deeper within. My throat tightened so painfully I thought I might choke. The knock came again. Not at the door, but somewhere behind me. A second knock, answered from the left. Then a third from the kitchen. They were surrounding me. Closing in. Toying with me. And for a moment, a terrifying, paralyzing moment, I thought I heard something whisper my name from the dark. I stumbled backward, pressing myself against the front door, desperate to anchor myself to something solid. "Stop!" I shouted. My voice cracked with fear. "What do you want?" The knocks stopped. All of them. Silence fell so heavy it felt like a weight on my chest. My pulse echoed through my skull. The house felt alive, breathing, waiting. I don't know why I did it. Maybe curiosity, maybe madness. But I whispered, "Where are you?" And the answer came instantly. Not as a voice, not as a knock, but as a shape. A tall silhouette appeared at the end of the hallway, a place where no light reached. A shadow, but not cast by anything. It stood unnaturally straight. No rise or fall of breathing. No features. Just a human-like outline carved into the darkness. I blinked, and suddenly it was closer. Not walking, not gliding, just closer. I gasped and staggered sideways. My shoulder hit the wall. Pain shot down my arm. It grounded me barely. "Stay back!" I yelled. The shadow didn't move, but the temperature dropped so sharply I saw mist leave my mouth as I breathed. The shape tilted its head slightly, as if studying me. Curious. Detached. A knock came from the opposite side of the hall. Another shape. Identical, motionless. Then another behind me. And another. My vision blurred with panic. They weren't trying to break the door. They weren't trying to force their way in. They were already here, calling me to see them. All of them, and that's when the realization hit me. The knocks were never meant to be heard. They were meant to be followed. Because every time I reacted, every time I looked, they grew closer. They wanted my attention. My fear. My awareness. They fed on Italiano. If you're still with me, listening to this, you need to subscribe. You need to hear the next stories. Because these things, these beings, don't just visit once. They choose people, and they chose me. I couldn't run. I couldn't speak. All I could do was stand there, surrounded by silent shapes that shouldn't exist. My breathing quickened. The shadows stepped forward. Not walking. Just appearing slightly closer each time I blinked. I pressed my back against the wall, sliding sideways until I reached the living room doorway. One of the shapes moved, its height stretching unnaturally as it shifted toward me. A whisper scraped across the air. "Stop looking." The same words from the note. My skin crawled. I squeezed my eyes shut, shaking violently. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath with me. Then a single knock, right beside my ear. Talk. Slow. Soft. I opened my eyes. The shapes were gone. Vanished. The house was silent again. The air warmed. The light steadied. Everything looked normal. But normal means nothing when you know the truth hiding beneath it. My phone buzzed. A new video from the doorbell camera. My hands trembled as I played it. The footage showed the Street 10T door. Then me. Sleeping. Inside my own bedroom. The timestamp. 10 minutes in the future. My stomach dropped. My breath stuttered. I felt like the ground beneath my feet split open. Because behind the sleeping version of me on the screen, a tall, faceless shadow leaned over my bed, watching me. Waiting. The video ended abruptly. My house fell silent again, except for a soft, gentle knock from down the hall. Talk. Talk. Not threatening, not rushed, just patient. As if reminding me. They never left. They're still here, and they're waiting for me to open the door. The screen of my phone flickered, then showed one final message in the same sharp handwriting. "Will return when you forget." And I realized, for them to come back, all I have to do is let my guard down. Forget the fear. Forget the lesson. Forget the truth. And the moment I do, the knocking will begin again. If you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, don't forget. And don't ignore the next knock you hear, even if there's no one there. And before you leave, subscribe. Because what happened next, what happened after that night, you'll want to hear it. You'll need to hear it before they choose someone else.